Shall I pour?
Yes, please do.
Isn't this a new service?
Rather.
Oh, it's lovely.
Apart from being Spode, it has another particular significance for me. It's the very pattern I saw being made while I was visiting Stoke-on-Trent.
Really? How interesting.
Quite a revelation going through one of those great potteries.
I should imagine so. Do tell us about it.
I can do even better than just telling you. I can show you exactly what I saw myself.
Why, you took motion pictures.
Exactly. And in about 2 seconds, we'll have them on the screen. I don't think many of us realize the years of skill and the labor that go into the making of fine ware. So for a permanent record, I took this film as I went through the Spode works. What you are seeing now is the birthplace of present-day china and earthenware, the potteries in Staffordshire. And in the centre of this district is the town of Stoke-on-Trent, where Josiah Spode established his company in 1770. Part of Spode's fame was due to his perfection of the underglaze engraving process, which made it possible for us to have the thousands of patterns that we now see in modern dinnerware. Two descendants of Spode's first partner are the present owners and active heads of the company today. Ronald and Gresham Copeland. They were kind enough to arrange for us to have a personally conducted tour of the works and pointed out many of the technical details that are generally unknown to the public. We started in the yards where the crude clay is stored.
Does it all come from Staffordshire?
No, none of the local clay is suitable for such fine ware as Spode, though clay from Staffordshire has been used for rough pottery since the time of the Romans. China clay and China stone come from Cornwall. Ball clay is brought from Devonshire. It's analyzed for quality before it's accepted, and then it's left to weather and mature for 5 to 10 years. After that, it starts on its long and interesting journey, from potter's mixture to fine dinnerware. They break the crude clays into small pieces, and in carefully weighed proportions they are mixed with water. Then it is beaten and whipped. Whipped until the particles of clay are so fine that they can actually be suspended in the water. When the consistency of the mixture has been carefully checked by weighing, this creamy white liquid is further refined. At this stage of the process, the mixture is known as slip. After it has gone through these agitators, it passes through a series of sieves, each finer than the one before, and the last so fine that even ordinary face powder won't pass through it. The finer the sieve, the finer the ware. Then it's allowed to trickle over a series of electromagnets.
Magnets? For making earthenware?
Well, you see, if any iron were left in the clay, it would cause black spots on the finished ware. This liquid clay is only used for making certain cast pieces. But most types of clay ware need clay that is plastic and doughy, so the water is squeezed out of it. That thin mixture we saw being made is pumped with high pressure into folds of fine mesh cloth. After 24 hours, the water has seeped out, and the residue is clay that's stiff as putty. These men are getting ready for the pug mill. The mill acts somewhat like an overgrown food chopper, but its chief purpose is to cut and squeeze the clay until there isn't the slightest chance of air bubbles remaining in it. Looks like metal when it comes out, doesn't it? Yet it's actually about the consistency of butter, but it's still not ready for use. From the pug mill it goes into cellars to mature for at least another 10 days before it's put into the hands of the potter. These chaps are really known as throwers. They take a shapeless lump of clay, spin it on the potter's wheel and, well, see it take shape for yourself.
Is all of the earthenware made that way?
No, just the pieces of regular shape. Now you'll notice that this fellow only finishes the inside of that piece. The finishing of the outside is the work of the turner. Take this fellow, for example. He's working on an egg cup, turning it on a lathe.
Heavens, that clay must be as strong as wood.
Seems that way, doesn't it, the way those shavings come off? Incidentally, the better the wear, the more it weighs, because the particles of clay are so firmly packed together.
Why, that's elation to me.
Make the test yourself sometime. You'll find that Spode, for example, is much heavier than ordinary earthenware. Here's a curious relic. It's an old foot power lathe, the kind used before the machine age. Of course, none of them are used today. In this comparatively simple operation of plate making, a lump of clay is flattened out on a revolving table. Then, just like dough that has been rolled out for pie crust, it's laid over a plaster of Paris mold, which forms the top surface of the plate, while a profile shapes the back. But dish or platter making requires more skill than any other phase of potting. Except for preparing the sheet of clay and using a plaster Paris mold, every operation is done by hand. I was told that no mechanical means has ever been found to equal the quality that comes from the handwork of the old craftsman. He gives it just the right shape and even thickness. Remember this painstaking hand operation next time you compare the prices of platters and plates. The cup maker. This is what they call jollying. Why, I don't know. Probably Old English. At any rate, it's the process used for making cups, bowls, and similar shapes. Then come the handles. He's taking his first step toward becoming a master potter, carrying on the tradition of generations before him. A bit of clay thinned with water is the adhesive. Dip them in, stick them on, and wipe them off. And after the cup has been fired, the handle and joint are one and the same piece. Looks simple, but it takes a practiced eye and steady hand, plus plenty of experience to do this simple job perfectly. Articles like this teapot and covered dishes, sugar bowls, gravy boats and such are often made by casting. First, this fellow fills the mold with slip, that thin liquid clay. As the plaster of Paris soaks up the water, a layer of clay is formed on the sides of the mold. After a few minutes, this becomes the thickness of the finished piece, and the rest of the slip is poured out. But it's still not dry enough to be removed before the following day. Then the straining holes are punched in. And finally, the spout and handle are mounted on. Delicate little operations that call for sure touch and master craftsmanship.
What do they use to make those extra pieces stay on?
The same liquid clay that we saw being made originally. No other adhesive is used. A sight that intrigued me was to see the girls carrying the ware into what they call the greenhouse, where the green or unfired ware is left to dry for a day.
It looks terribly precarious to me.
Yet it's almost unheard of for them to drop one of those loads. When the ware comes from the greenhouse, it's carefully packed in saggers.
Is that another old English term?
It's a corruption of safeguard, and that's precisely what those Spode dishes need to protect them from the flames of the ovens. Saggers last through only 3 or 4 fires and then have to be replaced. Old Burton, the sagger maker, is the 5th generation of his family who have made saggers for Spode. And many other workers are descendants of men who worked for Spode when he started his business. The green ware is packed in flint sand to keep the pieces apart. The first firing takes 2 days at temperatures that would completely burn up steel. But this terrific heat turns fine clay into hard, durable ware. The thousands of patterns that are used on Spode are under the guardianship of Thomas Hassel, art director of the works. Old patterns that have come down since the founding of the company are still used. And like the originals, the new engravings of them are tooled by hand. For simple dinner service, as many as 30 or 40 individual engravings are required. I was interested to see that the handling of these engravings is as much a work of art as the making of a fine etching. Each plate, cup or bowl requires a separate engraving or print, carefully surfaced with a special color. Then it is printed on an etching press on wet tissue. Worthy of being framed, isn't it? Those old Spode patterns are true masterpieces of engraving. The printed tissues then go to these girls, who deftly transfer them onto the ware. Incidentally, the ware at this stage is called biscuit, unglazed and still porous, so that when the tough paper with its impression of the engraving is rubbed strenuously, the color of the moist ink will be absorbed by the ware. Then, when the tissue is washed off, an imperishable pattern is left on the ware.
Is every design printed?
No, only one color is ever printed. Any additional colors are painted in by hand. Here's Mrs. Priestley, for instance. She's 82 now, has worked for Spode all her life. A simple outline of the figure was first transformed onto the unglazed biscuit ware. Then she paints in all the colours by hand. It's only when the ware has an entire pattern of a single colour that no additional painting is required. And here's Mrs. Turner painting a Toby jug. She and Mrs. Priestley are supervisors of groups of artists. The skill and delicacy of this hand colouring is really wonderful to see. Imagine doing what this woman is doing. With only her eye to guide her, she paints a line on a sauce boat, just the right width, just the right place, and never a slip. Before glazing, the oils that have been used in the colours are dried out in revolving electric kilns. Here's a mechanical process that's the most modern thing of its type. While Spode holds to the conviction that nothing can replace the fine craftsmanship of human hands, whenever anything mechanical can be improved upon, they're quick to do it. After the drying, the ware is ready for the glaze.
Oh, but he's covering up all that beautiful design.
Oh, what you see there is a mixture of finely powdered glass and water. The dipper, as this fellow is called, spreads it evenly over the entire surface of each piece. Moving shelves take the ware through a heated chamber that dries out all the water in the liquid glass, leaving a surface that looks like talcum powder. Then the ware is again put in saggers, this time to melt the powdered glass and transform it into heavy glaze which protects the ware and richens the colours in the pattern. Clay, hands, and fire. The quality of each determines the quality of the finished ware. And here it is, with every colour glowing brilliantly through the rich, heavy glaze. Down to the very last inspection, there's a tradition of fine craftsmanship in the making of this famous ware. A tradition that has survived from one generation to another in people, all of them craftsmen, artists, and men and women whose pride in their work is reflected in the beauty and enduring quality of their product, which we enjoy so unthinkingly every day. Yet, it is that pride of craftsmanship which makes one proud to be the possessor of ware as fine as Spode.
I realize that now. A teacup. But never again will it be just a teacup.